All right, we are about to step into a world where time isn't just told, it's celebrated. For the very first time, entrepreneur Iman Gadzhi is opening up his personal vault. We're getting a look at a watch collection that tells a story of ambition, taste, and a pretty unconventional philosophy. So, yeah, let's see what's inside.
And yeah, those are his words, not mine. This isn't some curated for-the-camera selection. Nope, this is his actual personal collection. And wow, what a collection it is. We're talking about a lineup that really tells you who he is, what his tastes are, and what he thinks it really means to be a collector.
And just to give you a sense of the scale here, the whole thing is valued at a cool $3 million. But honestly, the price tag isn't even the most fascinating part. It's the philosophy behind it all. A philosophy that's way more about stories than safes and more about sharing than just showing off.
You know what I find really interesting is how Gadzhi sees himself. He's super clear on this. He says, I am a collector, I'm not an expert. This isn't about him memorizing a bunch of reference numbers. It's about a real, deep appreciation for the art, and this belief that these beautiful machines are meant to be out in the world, not just locked away in some box. And this is where his whole philosophy just really shines. He believes watches are made to be worn, and he's not kidding. A lot of his pieces have scratches, not because he's careless, but because they've been lived in. If he's not wearing a particular watch, he'll just lend it to his friends. His whole take is simple. Why let a masterpiece sit in a dark box when someone you care about could be out there enjoying it? It's a pretty amazing way to look at collecting, right?
Okay, so let's crack open the box and see how this whole philosophy actually plays out in the watches he picks. We're going to start with a few pieces that show off his unique eye for detail and the stories that make him so much more than just gadgets that tell time.
First up, an absolute classic, the Rolex Daytona. But of course, it's not just one. Gadzhi has a very clear preference, and it all boils down to one single design detail that, for him, makes all the difference.
So check this out. It's a perfect example of how much he pays attention to the little things. On the left, you've got the Oysterflex model with that black ceramic bezel. He absolutely loves how that dark frame just makes the dial pop. Now, look at the full rose gold one on the right. I mean, it's gorgeous, but it doesn't have that same visual punch, you know? So the Oysterflex, that's his personal go-to. And the full gold one? Well, that's the one his friends get to enjoy.
But his collection isn't just about the big household names that everyone knows. Next up is a Vacheron Constantin Overseas. Now, for people who are really into watches, this brand is a sign of a deeper appreciation. It's about the history and the craft. It's kind of like a step beyond the mainstream hype.
So what is it that makes this watch so special? Okay, first, just look at that sunburst blue dial. He calls it mesmerizing, and yeah, you can totally see why. But it's also packed with these really clever features, like an easy link system that lets you swap out the bracelet for a strap in literally seconds. For him, seeing a Vacheron on someone's wrist is a nod. It's a sign that they're a true enthusiast, someone who really gets the subtle art of watchmaking. Okay, so we've seen some seriously impressive watches so far, but now we're entering a whole different league. Every great collection has its giants, right? Its heavy hitters. So what does it even take to get to that level? Let's find out.
So in this section, we're looking at two watches that are really the pinnacle of his collection, but for totally different reasons. One is all about modern, bold audacity, and the other is pure, timeless, old-world craftsmanship.
First up, the Richard Mille RM35-01. This brand, they don't just break the rules of watchmaking, they pretty much rewrite them from scratch. It's all about hyper-modern design, using these space-age materials and making something so light you barely even feel it's there. It's less of a traditional watch and more like a Formula One car for your wrist.
And Gadzhi just perfectly captures the spirit of the brand with this quote. He totally gets that it's absurd having a $300,000 watch on a Velcro strap. But that's the whole point. Richard Mille is all about breaking free from those stuffy old traditions. It's about radical comfort, incredible engineering, and maybe not taking yourself too seriously.
And now, for something completely different. On the total opposite end of the spectrum, we have this Patek Philippe World Time. And this is a watch that Gadzhi gained this incredibly profound appreciation for, but only after a really special experience.
And this timeline here shows exactly how he fell in love with this piece. Patek Philippe actually invited him to their workshops in Geneva, and while he was there, he got to watch the enameling artists create these tiny little masterpieces by hand. Seeing that intense focus, the years and years of skill it takes, it gave him what he calls a totally new appreciation for the art form. After seeing that, he just knew he had to have one.
So, we've explored his philosophy, we've seen the absolute titans of his collection, but what does he actually wear from day to day? Okay, let's get to it. His current rotation, the final 4 watches that get the most time on his wrist.
All right, here are the top 3 contenders. First, another Richard Mille, the 6702, which he loves because it's impossibly thin and light. Next up, the Patek Philippe Celestial, a stunning dress watch with what he calls an insane complication. It actually maps the night sky on your wrist. And third, a platinum Rolex Day-Date, factory set with diamonds that he says is just beautifully balanced. But even these incredible pieces can't claim that top spot.
And here it is, his number 1. The watch he says he would keep if he could only have one for the rest of his life. It's the Patek Philippe Nautilus Reference 5712 in rose gold. So, what makes this the one? Well, for him, it takes the iconic design of the original Nautilus and just perfects it. Even though it's solid rose gold, he finds it incredibly elegant and almost understated. Plus, and this is the big one, it has this clever micro-adjustment in the clasp that lets you expand the bracelet just a tiny bit. That's a total game changer on a hot day. For him, it's just the perfect mix of iconic style, everyday comfort, and beautiful, beautiful watchmaking.
So after touring a $3 million collection, what's the big takeaway here? Well, it all comes back to Gadzhi's core philosophy about work, about reward, and about the things we choose to mark our own journey. This quote right here, it just gets to the heart of it for him. He doesn't see watches as just assets or status symbols. He sees them as these tangible markers of progress, rewards you give yourself for hitting those big milestones and for closing out chapters in your life.
And his advice to anyone watching is so refreshingly simple. First, work hard. Then go find something you're genuinely passionate about, whether it's watches or, anything else. And don't worry so much about whether it's a perfect investment. A hobby is supposed to bring you joy. And most importantly, always remember that these things are meant to be a part of your life, not just things you own.
And that really leaves us with a final question to think about. It's not about the money, it's about the milestone. If you were to pick one watch to mark a really significant chapter in your own life, what would it be? And what story would it tell? It's something to think about.